Welcome back, Warriors. We are going to be extra safe today because shots are going to be fired. We are wearing the finest of flak vests, making sure that we are protected for some of these shots that may be good, may be bad. Accountability might be kryptonite, and there might be some people who disagree with such things because it is their kryptonite, and thus them not wanting to tell everybody their secret power loss capabilities. Now, since we're going to be talking about accountability, Warrior Waldo, what do you think about accountability, things that happen today in relationships? Who do you think can help the situation? What is your vision of what accountability at least should be or could be?
Well, so to define accountability, there's also, personal accountability first. The only person we can hold accountable is ourselves. Um, the definition of accountability versus responsibility sometimes get construed. Um, Definite responsibility is ownership of a task, ownership of how you do your job, ownership of following certain guidelines, following certain rules, following certain steps. Whereas the definition of accountability is ownership of a result.
The result.
Exactly. So, just in a work related situation to start off to explain the example. You have a job to do where you follow these certain steps. But maybe you may be doing the steps to the best of your ability, maybe you're doing the steps not to the best of your ability. But anyway, the end result of those steps are the job ended up some type of failure. It didn't meet the standards, it didn't meet expectations.
Like if you're making a Big Mac and you don't put the bread in the middle.
Sure, perfect, simple example. But you're saying is, I did what I was told, therefore I'm not responsible for that Big Mac not being made correctly. Where you are, I'm not accountable for that Big Mac being made. Where you are accountable for it. You did the action, you're responsible for the end result. Period. That's not saying there can't be adjustments can't be made to make doing the job, more efficient. But at the end of the day, you're accountable for the end result. Period. In the story. So I've got 3 examples for today. I'll do one at a time.
Okay.
We're going to talk about marriage.
Sure.
Things that go wrong in a marriage. I'm just going to pick one topic. I'm going to talk about infidelity.
Infidelity.
A lot of people have gone through this. It is soul shattering. It smashes you in a million pieces. It crushes your heart. And the discussion comes out to be, well, who is responsible for the infidelity? Even though a person may say, well, I did this, and this. It's your fault because I cheated on you. No.
Interesting.
But it's just that just because you follow these steps does not mean, you think you did everything right. So therefore, it's my fault that you decided to, have an external affair from our marriage or whatever. You're still responsible for your actions. And responsibility and accountability, especially accountability, really, really, and this is where I might start getting bullets flying my way, they really are inseparable from agency.
Ooh.
People, they say they want personal agency. They desire personal agency. But what they don't understand is agency cannot be given to you by another person. Agency is something you can only have for yourself, and you do that by taking responsibility and accountability for your own actions. People claim that they want that, but they don't really want to go through all the things that are required to have agency. And accountability is the biggest one. So we're going back into the infidelity. Just because, maybe you feel I could have done things better, that it wouldn't result in infidelity, or the other person could have done things better. Infidelity is a choice, period. You cannot ever, ever, ever be forced into it. We call that rape.
No.
You cannot be forced into infidelity. So blaming the other person for making me do this because I don't think you followed the directions correctly like I did, therefore I'm not responsible for the infidelity.
How many times
But
have we heard that? Oh my
Too
goodness.
many times. And it's because, and you know what, it's kind of interesting because I really think the bottom line, we talked about sign language. I think the reason people avoid accountability is because of guilt. I think they are avoiding the accountability because they don't want to feel guilty even though they do. They feel guilty, but they want to try and get rid of that guilt by trying to project the blame back onto you.
Sure. Jeez.
And I got a couple more, but I'd like to hear one of yours.
I can go off the infidelity. Warriors, when you are a hardworking individual, male or female, working 12-hour days, trying to just live, it's difficult. We get it. But that other part of the relationship should be supporting that, not, hey, this guy over here, I like his motion. That doesn't. If I'm working 12-hour days, I'm doing this for the family. I'm not trying to do this for my own health. I'm not trying. I could be messing up Big Macs rather than working the mine. It blows my mind. So there's a lot of people who have gone on deployments, come back, and their marriage is at certain spots, certain ranges of dissolved, whether it's completely dissolved or whether they caught, we as the individuals coming back, we caught you doing it. I mean, how are we supposed to take accountability when we are the ones going out trying to do that?
Well, you're not supposed to be one taking accountability. You're the person that's really understand ahead of time, look, this is what my job is going to entail. You agreed to this, okay? Basically, shirking responsibility and accountability to me is just a form of guilt. Basically, you were deployed, you were out all night long, you never have time for me. There was never, ever, ever a reason to sit there and to not sit and have the conversation, I need this more from you. And you respond with, well, I'll do the best I can, but you know my job or what it entails. They could do one or two things. They can say, okay, I will work on it, or I can end the relationship right now because I'm not getting what I want. What they can never do is do neither, or say they accept it, but go ahead and start, avoiding and disrespecting boundaries, ignoring boundaries, just because even though I agreed to this one thing, I didn't end the relationship because I didn't agree to it. I agreed to it, but then at the same time, I violated our marital vows, or however you want to put it. I violated the most important thing, violated trust. So when you ask the question, how can we take accountability in the situation you just described, it's not on you to take accountability. You can sit there and say, yes, I understand my job is very demanding and very dangerous, and therefore this is what I have to do. But you already told me you were okay with it, and that we will work through it. We will make a record to you no longer happy to do that.
And I just, it boggles my mind how we can come back from a deployment we can come back from being a police officer, coming back from a terrible shooting, or one of your friends or even yourself got shot and through that. And again, this women can all do this too. Be on the side of, hey, I'm doing my job,
Absolutely.
but it
Can I interrupt? I'll give you an example
please,
of the flip side about our accountability. Say that she put on some weight after having a kid or two.
that happens.
It will happen. And all of a sudden, you use that to justify hooking up with a hot girl.
Ooh,
Okay. Even though you know within the bounds of your relationship, infidelity is just forbidden. You're not going to do it. Now
but she
you
put on some weight, so I
right.
get to.
So so now you are not taking accountability. Actually, you're blaming her for not maintaining her what you would consider her proper weight. So
And then we, come on, if you have had a kid and your significant other has some of the baby weight left, that's, you are most accountable to her because you were the one who put the baby inside her. Well, we'll leave the other stuff on the other side, but this is your child. So how much do we, as the male part, in this example of having a wife that has put on some weight after a few kids, we need to take responsibility and accountability that we were part of making her body that way.
well, that's the argument. That's exactly it. We agree to have a family, and this comes apart of having a family. I'm just saying that there may be people out there who might decide, you know what? She didn't lose the weight after she had those 2, 3 kids. So it's her fault. I went and found a thinner person to have an extramarital relationship with. That's her fault. It's the same thing as shirking accountability.
Accountability. Um, so you said you had a few examples.
Right.
And yes, warriors, this does sound a bit one-sided, but also understand we are the ones who are we're the males, so it is going to feel coming across to you as one-sided, and so we're trying to make sure that we use the proper verbiage in saying it's both people in the relationship. It's not just
Exactly.
person A or person B. So with that said, Warrior Waldo, what was the one of the other things that you had?
Okay. So in terms of relationships, how about financial accountability?
Oh,
Probably, if not one of the biggest reasons people get divorced. Over money. Now you can shirk your job at work being in charge of a budget system, and you sit there and say, well, I did this and this, but the end result is not my fault. There might be some truth to that, but there's not. As far as relationships are concerned, there's a million examples I feel I can give, but I'm going to give this one. You have separate accounts, banking accounts.
banking accounts.
You separate the bills based on what someone makes, try to make a proportion on what someone makes and all that so you can get the bills paid off. All of a sudden, her bank account or your bank account goes negative. It draws negative. You can't pay the bills anymore. Who's accountable for that? Who's responsible for that and who's accountable for that? The person who let the account go negative said, well, you said this was my responsibility. You told me I could do this and this, but therefore the fact that I can't pay my bills is not my fault anymore. You're accountable because it literally is like saying, and this could probably apply to every example I give, you gave me permission to act the way I did.
And so I acted.
Right, acting. Exactly. Financial accountability is, I'm not going to preach about how to be financially responsible and all that, but
We are not trying to tell anybody how to invest. This is not what we're talking about.
No, and you know what? Um, I'm just talking about strictly accountability. At the end of the day, if you can't pay your bills, if we start getting bill collectors calling our house, calling your phone, calling my phone. I was going to say our phone. That goes to show how old I am. We used to have house phones. Good Lord. If we have bill collectors contacting us through mail, through the mail system or whatever, and I did not know, and all it says because you weren't paying your bills, because you were afraid that you're going to, it was going to cause a strain on our marriage, I was going to get, we're going to get into an argument. That right there is shirking the accountability on you. I couldn't come to you about it because I was afraid to talk about it, therefore I let bills run delinquent. And financial accountability, people can work through finances, which are hard in any relationship, they're hard in anyone's life. It seems like nowadays they've gotten a little bit harder with the way inflation is. I don't want to get political. But the accountability is on both of you, as long as you both understand how to take accountability and not blame the other person for overspending or they didn't do this, even though we agreed to certain terms and all that. At the end of the day, if you are responsible for certain things and you didn't do it, you are held accountable for your actions. I don't know if that's something you've come across.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many examples. The ones that come to my mind are unfortunately the ones that significantly altered my life. Coming home from a deployment and having to deal with some nonsense. I mean, you hear a lot on the stories on you see some TikToks that say the service members coming home and everybody's happy. What they don't really see is the other people who are coming home behind that guy who had his family big hugs, that for one reason or another, that's their relationship, we're not going to judge. They don't have those people there welcoming them back from the deployment because the marriage is dissolved or the relationship is dissolved.
The bills why that person was deployed. They don't want to face it.
And that just it really. I don't want to keep being so focused on the negatives because there's also some positives that can come up with lack of accountability. Me meaning freedom of not having to deal with the lack of accountability. I just can't see how some people can justify in their minds, he was gone, so I, did this other guy or other girl or whatever, just break up with them, and it's terrible. No one wants to do it, but if you're gonna go cheating on somebody, and you're in a monogamous relationship, why carry the other individual through that? Just break up with them. If you're married, do the divorce. Yeah, it sucks, but you're also not compromising anybody's morals. You're trying to do the right thing, even if you don't feel the same way about your significant other anymore. You're still trying to be a bit more positive in a negative situation instead of going to court, doing all sorts of nonsense, and trying to stick it to him because he made you do this or that, or she made you do this or that. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and bring it back to financial accountability. You agreed to buy 2 houses. And all of a sudden you go on a long deployment and find out you are severely in debt because you thought there was an understanding how certain things were going to go to keep you going in debt, and all of a sudden you're in debt.
Like, we're trying to level up here.
You're trying to level up, but your fault because you told me this is what you wanted. Even though the guidelines were set, we need to do this to make sure we don't go into debt. This, you said, well, I want to do this, so I did it. Now it's your fault because you don't like the way I did it. Now we're massively in debt.
The generational wealth that so many people claim to be wanting, you're undercutting that with this little shit that does not actually matter. Because, like you said, if I'm buying a second house, my relationship needs to be really good because that is putting us in a huge financial risk. And I know you talked about risk in the DEI videos. Risk is everywhere, but you can mitigate some of that by not doing silly things. Or if you feel like you don't have the risk, your relationship is good, making that step to level up, to make sure that those parts of your life can be better for the your kids and grandkids. But if you're gonna leave somebody and just have all that debt, you're not getting generational wealth. So stop talking about generational wealth because you're screwing yourself over.
And if you don't do it, accept the fact that, hey, I made the mistake. This is my fault. And that's what accountability is.
Should be that easy.
But it's not that easy because, like I said, I'm bringing it back to guilt. People, they feel guilty, therefore they want to shirk responsibility and accountability on other people. They want to claim, they want agency, but they don't want the responsibility and the conditions that come with actually having agency. And I know I can feel the bullets coming right now because that's a bad word for certain people. I want to go into the last accountability issue as far as relationships go. Parenting.
Parenting.
Blaming the other person for the kids acting a certain way.
Ah.
So, you guys, parenting is so hard, and it's so important to have a plan and to try to execute the plan as much as you can. But if one of the kids the behavior starts to go a certain way, the first thing you should never do is say it's the other person's fault for the kid acting the way they do. I did what I was supposed to do. You didn't. No, there's no blame involved. It's how do we fix this? But you go to a divorce proceeding and he did this, he didn't do that.
No.
Kids and all that. It's not. There is no greater form of being accountable than raising your kids. And there should be no blame. You both are accountable equally, no matter what. And, if one person's not doing something, you should sit there and talk about it and say, this is what we need to do. Instead of blame shifting, say, well, you yelled at them that one time, or you let them do this. You did stop them from doing that. It's your fault. Accountability on parents, no matter how they turn out, the accountability on parents is both of them, not just one. I mean, what was your responsibility?
I can't imagine having a child and then having my parents try to teach me about parenting when it's such a different time.
Such another topic,
No.
No. I mean, you gave me an idea for a topic.
Oh yes. Sorry, I missed that. I apologize. Just having somebody else. We're all. There's a Bible verse. We all mess up. But then to have your parent come in and try to say you were bad, and again, I can't necessarily relate to that, but I can't imagine where does Grandpa get off? He messed up things on there, but then the grandson is responsible for his grandfather's mistake. I mean, yeah, we're getting into something else.
No, please.
We're getting too many shots fired here. It makes me wonder what about parenting. Some people understand because it is. I think you've shown throughout the videos we've made what a good father can be. What are
Right.
some good points? You've made some bad decisions in life. You've become accountable for those decisions, and yet still you love your children and you're not trying to degrade them in some sort of way. Uh, mm, mm.
You went down the grandparent road. And
Well,
I could go on, but the thing of it is using your parents as a reason to explain your actions is not taking accountability.
no.
My parents were traditional. They had Christian values. Therefore, I wasn't allowed to do this and this and this, and that's why I do it now. Or vice versa. My parents used to yell at me and scream at me. Therefore, that's why I do it. No, you're responsible for your own actions. You don't get to blame your parents. You used to justify why you did. You identify, hopefully, this is why I do certain things. And my parents are not the reason because they did. I should identify that's why that they did it. Therefore, this is why I need to change and better myself. But it's never ever dismissed you from accountability evaluation.
And it that's a great point. I just when I joined the Air Force, when I told my father who was in Vietnam, he was a raise my hand kind of guy. He did not get drafted, but he still was over there doing crazy things. I can't imagine because his reaction to me joining the military, from his point of view, you're gonna go to something like Vietnam and it's not gonna do good. He was sort of right. I did go to a place sort of like Vietnam. We were in desert warfare when we were in the military. He was in jungle warfare when he was in his. But then to try to tell me, my kids are X, Y, and Z because I didn't follow his direction, or I just it blows my mind, and I think we can be talking about this for 3 hours. Just oh goodness, goodness, goodness. Well, Warriors, thank you for another day, another time, another point that hopefully got across in the right way. Let's see you on the next one, boys.